Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hello friends, my name is Norazlia Farisa Binti Azman and I'm currently studying at Sekolah Bahasa Kota Masai. Reading has been my hobby. I truly enjoy reading storybooks, ebooks and novel. Today, I'm going to be talking about a book titled Everlasting Love. The author of this book is Melissa Lim. It was made in 2008 and it contains 108 pages. The reason why I want to talk about this book is because of its captivating storyline. This book is about a story of a family with an identical twin named Tina and Jane. Tina was the firstborn and Jane was the second. Their parents' names are Mr. Robert and Miss Annie. Mr. Robert and Miss Annie has always concerned about their daughters because twins usually get along pretty well, but Tina and Jane was the opposite. They would always fight in the household, even for the slightest thing. As the twins never get along, their neighbor despised them and always called them a monster. Mr. Robert and Miss Annie had a discussion to put Tina and Jane into a sports school because Jane is an excellent swimmer. Tina, on the other hand, is in squash, but both of them need intensive training to be better. With no hesitation, Mr. Robert asked Jane to go to the club to practice. Although Jane was mad at him because she had been training hard the entire week and barely ever got time for herself. As angry as she was, she still listened to her father's demand. Mr. Robert knew that Jane was still mad at him and decided to tell her that he's going to sign up Jane into a swimming competition next month. Even though Jane completely disagreed on his father's idea, she had to obey her father. The next day came. Mr. Robert and Miss Annie went out to get groceries. Just 2 minutes after their bell left, Jane and Tina got into a big fight. Jane stole Tina magazine without her permission, and Tina was so mad about it. They were screaming loudly at one another. Their neighbors were really loaded at them now. After their parents got back, Jane and Tina was still fighting. Mr. Robert rushed into the house when he heard his daughter were fighting. After he tried calming both of his daughters down, Jane decided to go to her friend's house because she was mad at Mr. Robert and Tina. While she was on her way to her friend's house, she met Billy, her neighbor. He isn't a nice kid as he was insulting Jane and her family. But Jane decided to ignore him because she was about to burst into tears. After she arrived to her friend's house, her friend quickly tried to comfort her. Jane thought it was a bit embarrassing to cry in front of her friend. After she got back home, she immediately went to her room and fell asleep. A few days later, Jane and Mr. Robert got into a massive fight. Jane was just trying to explain about his father's idea of joining the competition. Although Mr. Robert had enough of Jane and immediately scolded her. Suddenly, Mr. Robert felt a slight pain in his chest and passed out on the floor. Jane was so taken aback and quickly called her mother for help. Miss Annie had instructed Jane to call the ambulance, but she wasn't allowed to go to the hospital because her mom had ordered her to go and find Tina. Jane decided to go look for Tina at her friend's house, and of course, Tina was there. Jane rushed to tell Tina that their father has passed out and has been sent to the hospital. But Tina doesn't really believe her, but decided to follow Jane anyways. They called a taxi to the hospital and they met their mom there. They asked the nurse if their father was okay, and lucky enough, Mr. Robert is all fine and has no injury. They go visit their father in his room and decided to ask for forgiveness for everything that they have done. Jane and Tina also decided to apologize to one another and promise each other not to fight anymore. Miss Annie, who has been quiet this whole time, is crying tears of joy. They all hugged while crying. A few weeks later, Jane and Tina decided to go to their neighbor's house because they want to say sorry for being annoying their whole life. At last, they all live happily ever after as a family. And that's the end of the story. The moral of this book is you should definitely take responsibilities for your action and treat people how you want it to be treated. This book is very, very well written and I enjoyed the gripping storyline. My favorite character from this book is the twins because they are very different from others and it's pretty interesting. If you like family themed stories, then this book is definitely for you. You'll read it from cover to cover and will finish it in no time. And that's all I have to say about this book. Thank you for listening and goodbye.